We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Bitcoin is back, but you can't tell because every time it goes up, but then retraces, everyone gets depressed. Then altcoins take off, but you don't notice or care. I think you care. But people are acting like certain things are not happening, like BlackRock coming into the market heavy. And there's a footprint everywhere. Real world assets up 5% this morning. Avalanche continues to go up. Solana is bid and may not stop. Matter of fact, the Solana trade could be really big. And then I have finally found somebody who wrote a bull case for ETH, namely that they've developed all these layer twos, which essentially operate for free as a way to get them to sort of proliferate like Base. But eventually they're going to have to pay their fair share in transactions to the Ethereum network. So there's huge numbers of layer twos that are all going to have to wind up paying ETH to clear their transactions. So ETH at 2,000 seems cheap long-term. All these bullish things are like revealing themselves and they're universally ignored, right? Most of what is in the news has to do with either politics, the budget, or how the government continues to want people to be interested in crypto. Mainly, I think it's really simple. It's for the wealth effect, right? Like if a whole bunch of people are losing their jobs, how do you get everybody from being depressed? Well, I don't know. You get crypto moving and you get money in people's pockets. Because I think this job market disruption thing, both in the public and the private sector, is not going anywhere. Like that's only going to get more serious. And just frankly, the only hedge is crypto, the period. And crypto is starting to act like that this morning, where you're starting to have sectors pop off. And if you look at weekly charts, which we'll go over some weekly charts, it's just obvious that this market is like so destroyed. You're getting to do the whole bull market all over again. Now, can you argue that this is crypto winter? Yeah, it's probably winter in AI agents, but you knew there was going to be AI agent winter at some point because it just gets super hot and then it crashes and goes to, right back where it started from. But if you've got winter in AI agents, then you have to ask yourself, is the next AI trade in crypto the real trade? Like the real AI trade where stuff goes up and stays up. All right. So we'll go over some of that, right? And some of the TA behind it. Okay. Let's welcome who's here. Warmon, Alexandra, welcome. Old Smoky, Zapatus, Roby, welcome. Miguel, Thomas, Turbulent Entertainment, Gian, welcome to the show. Taz Pinball, SGSG, welcome. Oh no, right? Warmon says, since BTC supply is limited and demand skyrockets price, how will that influence the price of XRP or Cardano? Okay, well, Eagle King came up with it today. The XRP and Cardano are a part of the ISO. I believe it's 2022 coins. Right. ISO 222. That's how I call it now. In other words, there are certain coins that are compliant for moving money around. I don't understand why we've all given up on those coins, mainly because we didn't get the upside gratification that we wanted, and then we went into a psychological winter. Bitcoin is going to go because of a supply shortage. We discussed that. Then what's going to happen is they're going to start parsing out AI coins or AI trades, which means Solana, right? Because all these agents are going to issue coins on Solana. New stuff over old stuff. And guess what? Everybody is thinking that this market is over. And if anything, to me, it feels like it's only getting started. Now, that's a minority opinion, okay? So crow holders are losing their mind, right? Like I'm screaming, I told you so from the top of the roof. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure in terms of Crow what value proposition that token ever had, because it was like, you had to stake that coin to get certain privileges with crypto.com. But I'm not sure anybody really needed those privileges, although crypto.com does have a lot of coins available. Look, everybody's raising money any way they can. That's what's happening. Now, what happened to Crow holders, I don't know. But, everyone's trying to get bigger fast. Okay, news, let's go. Okay, foreign companies lining up to invest in America, 3 trillion and counting. Okay. Um, Congress needs to get moving. There's a theme today. Like Congress needs to get moving on crypto. Congress needs to get moving on tax incentives to get people over here, because the layoffs that they're doing in the government are so devastating that, like I said, they need to take action. Now, the reason they need to take action outside of the obvious, getting a budget done, showing the general public that this is not just the orange man and his pen, rates have to go lower. Rates have to go lower, and you want to have certain structures set up so companies can have tax incentives and eventually take advantage of the lower rates to get to America. This includes crypto companies. Crypto companies have been slow to do this, and I think there has to be an AI event before people wake up, but there's going to be an opportunity to get long in front of that. Okay, BlackRock, I don't know, man. These guys just keep coming, right? Head of digital assets said he expect large investors to adopt quickly and banks to provide Bitcoin custody. She's getting to the point where, as a human being on the planet, you have to have Bitcoin, and no one's interested, right? I mean, I guess the good news is it's obvious. The bad news is it's obvious. Sometimes when it's obvious, people go, well, it's already known. There's no one left to buy. I don't agree. I think there's no one left to sell. I think the reason that there's no activity in the market is because big players can't get the liquidity that they need to do what they want to do, and they don't want to move price $25,000 in a week by piling in. So the market is in like this stalemate zone. You can feel it. Like Bitcoin goes up and no one comes in and pays 88. Everyone's afraid of 88, whatever it is. People are afraid of higher prices. But then Bitcoin stops, and then certain altcoins pop off because of BlackRock. DeFi destroyed, AI destroyed, all these sectors destroyed. So, I mean, they can start coming in one at a time, and I'm glad to see the market, it finally has a sensitivity to good news. Okay, BlackRock putting its money market funds on chain. Again, young people are not going to open up stodgy brokerage accounts. They're going to have crypto wallets. They're going to have Robinhood. They're going to have whatever they're going to have. They're going to have an apps on their phone. And if you want to get US dollar money market funds in the hands of somebody other than old people, it's going to need to be on chain. Okay. Period. Not to mention these money market funds, if they can be both in legacy and on chain, it's more demand for short-term debt, right? The more money market funds you have, the more stable coins you have, the bigger the demand you have for US debt, because that's what provides the yield for all of these money market funds. Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. So there is a structure underneath the Great Triangle thing over in the Middle East. They just found it. And I'm wondering if the people who built this thing are going to come visit us, or they're going to try and scare us with, a landing from space when everyone comes to visit us to tell us all about whatever this is. I mean, it's all over the news and not all over the news. People are looking at it and go, what does this mean? Well, it means something. Okay, I'm a little bit disturbed as to how much they could scare people with this thing. the weirder stuff gets out there, the more I want to own crypto. And I think I'm not the only one. I think there's large numbers of people who are thinking this. Now, this is a very good question from a political standpoint. What is Congress waiting for? Like, can we pass a real budget instead of these continuing resolutions? Can we pass stablecoin legislation? Can we pass something? Like, the Orange Man's been in office for like 60 days and they haven't passed anything. Really? These guys have an election in 2 years. Now would be a good time to get started and hook us up with a whole bunch of stuff in crypto. Now, what are they waiting for? Well, they're waiting to see, they're waiting to make sure they're not going to do anything because Elon is out there, right? Like, the only check on Elon is Congress is like, well, you know what? If Elon cuts everything, we won't approve anything, because undoubtedly you have special interests calling their congressman. Hopefully, the easiest thing for Congress to pass is something crypto related, because it's the only thing Elon can't cut. One, because it's in the private sector, and two, it doesn't exist. Web3 doesn't exist. And if it does, it's sitting at zero in some kind of like psychological winter. Trump media shares jump announcing crypto ETF deal with crypto.com. There's two ways to look at these things. One, the Orange Man is just being cheesy and trying to cash in on all this crypto mania that he helped get going. Or he's trying to get his own businesses positioned for when they come in and start doing huge stuff via either strategic reserve or the sovereign wealth fund. I'm a little bit more bearish on the sovereign wealth fund, only because I don't think they can get the liquidity. There isn't 200,000 Bitcoin in the market for them to buy. They're going to have to take over a miner. I really, it's like the sovereign wealth fund can start buying the ETF. I don't think they can buy 1 million Bitcoin without driving the price to 400,000. Now, who knows? Maybe that's the idea. Trump loads up his personal bag and then pumps it with Uncle Sugar money. That's also possible. I just think the market is ignoring all this stuff because it's become numb to the news, not really understanding that they're loading up their bags and then they're going to pump it later, one way or the other. And Michael Saylor is out on the tape. Like, if you listen to him, like, I don't know that, like when he would talk about Bitcoin going to 13 million, he would have to talk about that in like an academic presentation. Now, Michael Saylor's just on the tape every day. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. Armstrong's on the tape from Coinbase. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. They know what's going to happen, right? And they're probably going to be presenting it at Bitcoin Vegas. It's just that, again, people are so wrecked, they're just numb to it all. All right. So I think we have to start paying attention to what's going to happen in artificial intelligence and how that's going to impact crypto, right? So, OpenAI has talking AI that can sound like a friendly customer service representative. So AI is going to have voice inflection. At the pace that they have to develop this to stay profitable. In other words, the simple fact of the matter is OpenAI, because of DeepSeek, which is the Chinese version, that there are all these versions that were released that can supposedly run faster and cheaper without NVIDIA chips. Now, what does this have to do with crypto? These guys have to develop this stuff at warp speed. They're going to have, by the end of the year, AI as smart as people. Right now, they got AI that can do a lot of cool stuff, but, it doesn't remember what you told it an hour and a half ago. You have to keep telling it like a 6-year-old. Right. But that's going to end. They're going to have full-on agents doing people's jobs, and there'll probably be some sort of huge breakthrough within an industry. So everybody thinks Skynet gets developed and everybody is hosed. What may happen is they may have a breakthrough in a particular industry, or it could be government where they have to lay off people and then they're forced to figure out how to replace that with agents. Either way, the AI catalysts are coming in this market. It's not even being discussed. I mean, if you look at where some of these coins are, they're back where the whole thing started from. Now, obviously, that's terrible because most people got involved at some point over the last year and a half, and now they're underwater and they don't want to play anymore. I understand that. But these guys are not playing around, and this trade is going to be a lot bigger than anybody thinks. A lot bigger. Okay, so everyone's piling on the Fed. Here we have the guy from El Salvador. The Federal Reserve has no reserves. They print. They rob you of your money. You know, they transfer wealth to from the little guys to the big guys. Bobby's been saying this. Nayeeb is saying it. Everyone's saying it. They're going to print. They're going to put money in the system, or they're going to get their books audited or shut down, or both. I don't think they're going to get shut down because they've just got too much power, right? But they can pop their books open. So they're going to cooperate or they're going to go away. That's it. Now, I don't know what go away means, but this rhetoric is out there. And, you know, if they don't get with the program and start lowering rates, like the administration is sending a very powerful message with egg prices. If egg prices collapse and then they let 250,000 people go in Virginia, inflation's going to zero. And I don't think there's a lot of people who are talking about this. Inflation is going to zero. Altcoins are not going to zero. Inflation's going to zero. Well, look at this. Circle just became the first stablecoin to get approval in Japan. Huh. The Japanese approving stablecoins. What do you know? So you have digital dollar, right? More demand for treasuries. And then you're going to have Circle doing yen, or Circle doing, you know, every other currency, so that the stablecoin companies can absorb treasuries and government debt at the same time. This is also a way to give your population access to dollars, right? Digitally. So you can get them using Bitcoin, so you can create a wealth effect. It's like you can go down to the money exchange place, exchange yen for dollars. Then what are you going to do with the dollars? What are you going to do? Go down to the gold dealer and buy a gold bar, and then sit home and take the gold bar and lie in bed with it in the fetal position, waiting for the sky to fall, like Ray Dalio. He's got a whole book coming out, like how governments go broke. Okay. Good book. The problem with the book is the governments are going to read it. The Japanese government's going to read it. The American government's going to read it. And they're going to be like, how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this? Crypto. I mean, it's that simple. My bank just refused to transfer fiat to Kraken. They inquired about the purpose, and I refused to tell them. It's my money and my business. They refused to help. You know, the banks are scared of crypto for obvious reasons, right? Because if you're using crypto, you don't need them. It's a threat to their fee structure, where they're charging you $25 for everything. And then, of course, there's the idea that, you know, it's not necessarily this guy's bank, but there is the idea that somewhere in the banking system, they're covering up losses. Like, the thing that people have not figured out is that there's all this corruption, there's all this cover-ups, there's all this men behaving badly inside the government. Why would you think that's confined to the government? Why would you think that? You don't have men behaving badly at Silicon Bank. So Silicon Valley. You don't have men behaving badly at Wall Street. You don't have funny business shenanigans. I don't know. All I know is everyone's waiting for some kind of blow up in the private sector, like various macro guys, Dalio and his huge book. I think it's just very simple, right? Bitcoin, crypto, and Web3, altcoins, AI in particular. I don't know, man. What's going to stop it? It's the only way to vent the pressure in the system. It's the only way to do it. Okay, so the Orange Man launching in the Middle East makes absolutely no sense to me. They want peace in one place and conflict in another. Doesn't make any sense. Again, sovereigns, do they have your interest at heart? Now, this guy does, although I don't like his Middle East position either. But they have 40 this is just this health agency that he works in. 40 communications departments, 40 procurement departments, and 40 IT departments. None of them talking to each other. None. You just have like redundant departments everywhere. And when these people are gone, right, I don't know where they go. Like, this is just a small example where, like I said, everything has become Twitter. Everything. And I realize that that's probably scary because you're probably sitting around you're probably going to work going, uh-oh, like, wow, is this going to happen to me? Dude, the only thing to do is stick a bunch of money in crypto and hope that when rates come down, because unemployment goes up, that you make a ton of money in crypto. Period. That is the solution. That's the solution. Because what else are you going to do? Right? All these people in government who are going to, they're going to get shown the door. If they had been investing in crypto, they would have the ability to take advantage of lower rates. And as soon as I saw this, extraordinary waste, everybody's giving the Fed a hard time about inflation, and inflation is going to zero. What they're going to be giving the Fed a hard time about in 3 months or 6 months is where the unemployment rate's going. Right? Or continuing jobless claims, or whatever number actually tells the truth about what's going on in the labor market. Inflation's going to zero and rates are going lower. The dollar is going down. Stocks are in a range. So what do you want to do? And then most of like Web3, AI, all this stuff, like the only place to trade it is crypto. That's it. Right. And then I keep thinking about Solana, ETH, all these coins that people have just blown off. Okay. Michael Saylor at $13 million every single day. I take 102 personally. But the guy's conviction has gone up. He's on the phone with the White House. It's happening. It's happening. The only problem is they can't get the liquidity. They can't get $42 billion. They can't buy it. Don't tell me he's afraid of it going lower. He's not afraid of it going lower. He's not afraid of it going lower because if it did, he'd be down there on the bid. So it isn't going lower. Now, can it go higher? I don't know. It depends on who wants to start market buying it first. BlackRock may be the one that gets it started. Mike Novogratz at Galaxy Digital is another candidate, right? Where they're just like, okay, we're just going to get this started because, it's just classic Wall Street, right? The hedge funds and the broker dealers or the market makers go out and start buying everything, knowing that the mutual funds and the Michael Saylors and the BlackRocks are eventually coming in mass quantities. Treasury Secretary, we are reprivatizing the economy, bringing down government spending, bringing down excess employment in the government sector. And look at this. We are going to re-leverage the banking system. Wow. Now, what does that mean? That means the Orange Man is going to encourage banks by backing loans to build everything they can in America. And I'm hoping that also means Web3. That's what I'm hoping. Now, the reason they have to do this is because of, again, the employment situation. They're not going to win the midterm elections in 2026. The Orange Man does not want to be looking at an opposition Congress because that's normally what happens, right? You sweep in, everyone's happy, then everyone gets disappointed and voted for the other party in 2026. They have to get something going, and that has to include crypto. You do not want every crypto bro voting the other way. Because crypto bros will, and they don't care. But this idea about re-leveraging the banking system means they want to get money out there. They're going to go to the banks. The banks are going to be like, they're going to say to the banks, lend money. The banks are like, no. we're not taking the risk. And the government will say, we'll back the loans. The banks will go, okay. This is how they built China from the ground up in 2000 and wound up with 10% GDP growth. Now, eventually that got out of control. All the money went in stupid places 20 years later and they blew up. What else is new, right? But we haven't tried that over here. Releveraging the banking system means put money out there. So the Fed's going to print, the private sector is going to print. That's how the fiscal side is going to print. Instead of hiring people to work for the government, they're going to print back the banks, and the banks are just going to push money out there. Just push money out there. How is that not good for crypto when you have this like huge flood of liquidity coming from every direction just to stop a recession from the employment reductions in the public sector? Okay, the states are going to figure this out. Ohio says we're doing it. Arizona says we're doing it. I don't know if they can pass it, but someone's going to do it. They can do it now or they can do it later. But they are going to do it. It's like happening right in front of us, and we're not talking about it. Okay, Coinbase CEO, again, on and on and on about multi-million-dollar Bitcoin. They've spoken to the administration. Whether you look at MicroStrategy over BTC or just the MSTR chart itself, it looks like the tables are finally turning back in our favor. And we've talked about this. The street is short MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy is coming back to where it did the heaviest amount of like what they call issuance. Like, we'll give you the stock, you give me money, and we'll go buy Bitcoin. The street is short these stocks, right? They're short the stocks. That's why it's trading like this. MicroStrategy is. And the Bitcoin miners are all up 8%. They're all up 8%. Like, this is MicroStrategy divided by the Bitcoin ETF. I have MicroStrategy divided by NVIDIA, right? Just trying to figure out, like, everyone's long NVIDIA, everyone's short MicroStrategy. So that whole thing is just going to unwind. MicroStrategy trades. MicroStrategy, you got to think of it this way. The Bitcoin that MicroStrategy holds, based on the mathematics, is worth twice as much as what actual Bitcoin is worth. So if you buy MicroStrategy, you're buying Bitcoin at 150K. If you bought Bitcoin, you'd be buying Bitcoin at 80K or 85K, whatever. Now, the reason why MicroStrategy is so expensive is because A, everyone is shorted, and B, the only way to get exposure in certain areas, in certain countries, in certain funds is to do MicroStrategy. Everyone wants to fade this guy. Everyone thinks he's an idiot. Everyone's just like basically ignoring him at this point. Wait till he's on the stage with the orange man or the Treasury Secretary at Bitcoin Vegas. The fourth strongest social media engagement in the entire stock market. Okay. So MicroStrategy is very small. Okay. Right. But it has a high share of what it's talking about in terms of social media. Right? MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor have got mind share. So on one hand, crypto people are ignoring them. On the other hand, stock people are listening. It's incredible. Like, everybody who's long the Magnificent Seven wants something different, and they're going to start looking at the Bitcoin ETF and MicroStrategy. Bitcoin is a magnet for capital, right? So Michael Saylor turns around and retweets this guy, and, you know, the gold guy is more like Bitcoin is a black hole. What it sucks in will never come out. It will just be destroyed. As long as guys are talking like that, it's going up. Right? So, more men behaving badly. Some company called 23andMe sharing data with everybody. It's like, to me, when you look at crypto and you look at all this stuff that they do in legacy, and they say, we're the bad guys, we're the fraudsters, our stuff is trading at zero, yet all this stuff had economic value before they had the gotcha moment. How many gotcha moments exactly are out there? Crypto has been destroyed, yet Okay, so again, Trump loading up before he pumps his own bags. Trump launching on Binance chain, right? Crypto gaining ability to unlock the US market. Okay. So Garlinghouse, this is Garlinghouse on the tape every single day on CNBC now. So not only is XRP all over YouTube, you have Garlinghouse all over CNBC, and it's about time. Right? Vitalik should be there too, except I don't think Vitalik can put a suit on and talk. Right? They're on the tape getting people ready for the XRP ETF. Okay. $644 million crypto inflows, everybody exiting ETH. I understand why people are exiting ETH. I just know that the day that ETH turns around and these layer twos, the free ride ends and they have to start contributing back to ETH, that ETH wakes up. Here it is. Okay. Brutal honesty. I never thought ETH versus Bitcoin would ever get this low. Okay. Based roll-ups are coming in 2026 to get L2s paying their fair share for their L1 security. Additionally, new administration's SEC will allow ETH staking to make ETH ETFs more desirable. Okay. Stable coins will take center stage, and banks are rushing to create money market funds on Ethereum and tokenize real-world assets. As we get closer to quantum computing, Bitcoin issues around lost coins will have people start asking about the Bitcoin narrative. Maybe. Also, I think just again, when you think about DeFi and AI, yes, that includes Bitcoin, but that also includes other coins. Now, if you need the quantum angle to poke holes in Bitcoin, you're in trouble. But this is the first time I've seen the bullish case for ETH. Let me just write that. Maybe we got to do I'm thinking about doing live Twitter replies and live Grok sessions, right? XRP and Solana attract millions, right? ISO 2022 or 222. The top 8 compliant coins for moving money in the legacy system. Ripple, Stellar, Cardano, Hedera, IOTA, XDC, Algorand, Quant. Zero conversation about these coins. Massive conversation about these coins before the election. Zero conversation after. The first and easiest thing for Congress to do is cut taxes. Right? It's easy. They lay off all these government workers, and then they say there's no transaction tax on all these American-made cryptos. And I understand, XRP isn't going down, right? All these people get it. These coins all went up, and now they're just sitting there. They're waiting for the next catalyst. I can't see how that catalyst doesn't come. If they want Hyundai to build factories here, they got to want Web3, which is why Garlinghouse is all over CNBC. They got to get somebody out there besides Saylor. Okay. Let's go to TA. So, Bitcoin, daily chart, right? 13 bottom, blow off bottom. All they need to do is bust through 90. I think this bottom is already confirmed. Finally, unless, if Bitcoin does not go back down, and especially if Bitcoin blows through 90, you have a bottom. You have a bottom that no one believes. Avalanche weekly. This looked like the end of the world. This looked like you were going to have a huge down move. And as the mark goes, when you start and then pause and then start again, as in a trend, at this point, if it reverses, it's very powerful. It's a hidden DeMark trick. I have absolutely no idea why you cannot have Avalanche back where it was at the election at 52. This real world asset security token thing is happening right before your eyes. Solana. How much support is there in Solana between 130 and 100 on DeMark? I mean, do you realize that Solana is back where it was at the start of 2024? Like this 120 area where it's where everyone wanted to take profits on the way up. And I said, to hell with that, stay with the trade. Literally nothing has happened in Solana in 15 months, right? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're like starting over. Now, naturally, anybody who's gotten involved here is probably hosed and depressed. I get it. The fact of the matter is, if you just got here, or even if you didn't just get here, you have to act like you just got here. Because like they've taken this whole trade and just said, you know what? We're decimating it. Look at this. So this is AI, Tau, right? Comes out, goes down, all the way up, all the way back down to where it started from. You got to be kidding me with this. Like, why would you not get involved in this? Like, we had some headline yesterday that the Eagle King pulled out that like big hedge funds or big venture capitalists, they're looking at these coins. They're going, oh my God, you know, what happens if there's a catalyst? You know, you're going to tell me that there's no catalyst in AI. You're going to tell me there's no catalyst in AI with this, right? First, it's going to write, then it's going to talk, then it's going to be a hologram. I mean, this is happening, right? This is absolutely happening. Right here it is. From the Eagle King, the greatest producer ever. 2 projects Pantera is looking at, right? Tau and Grass, which is like 2 coins that are AI for, it's AI for normies is what it is. You know, no one wants to do this trade. Oh, except big venture capitalists who are looking at this going, oh my God, we can do this from the beginning. We can start at the beginning. Look at SUI on a weekly chart. Like SUI is back to the high from March, right? It's back to the high from March of last year. Last year. So what has SUI done since March of last year? As of now, nothing. Nothing. So we're not going to run anything on SUI, right? What are we going to have? 2 layer ones? This is crazy, right? You have a 9 top, it tops. You have a 9 bottom, it bottoms. I mean, this kind of stuff is like a raving, screaming entry point. But of course, as it grinds higher, people just, they're afraid. They don't want to touch it. You know, this is like the same type of serious bottom in Avalanche where it looks like it's going to keep going, and it doesn't. It turns around and goes up. And even in the case of ETH, you have a 9 bottom, you have a 13 bottom on the ETH weekly charts. You have run every single stop in creation, right? You've run every single stop in creation. There's no one left in ETH. Everyone's done. And then, you know, of course, you know, no one wants to hear that, oh, I'm a boomer in crypto and I still like ETH and I can't explain it to you. Well, I don't know. That guy just explained it to you. He's like, you know, they've given the layer 2s a free ride to develop a huge network and that they're going to have to pay their fair share. Nothing is free. And then they're going to allow Ethereum staking. So institutions, you just got to think about this. Institutions could come in and build something on ETH and they pay the fees, right? But then they buy the ETH ETF or they just buy ETH in general and stake it and they collect the yield that was generated from paying the fees. It's actually quite brilliant, right? Invest in ETH and then build something on ETH. So build it on ETH, get rewarded with yield on staking. So the first currency to have an interest rate. or to have an economic incentive to go in and pay the fees. Like Solana for retail, yeah, Solana is free, okay, to trade, but it's not free because it weighs down Solana performance. Now, they could change their tokenomics or have an AI agent mania. So that case is different. So it's Solana retail and ETH for institutions. And you have every bottom signal on the planet and no one cares. And if ETH comes back through 2,200 on a weekly closing basis, forget about it. Okay. So I think you should be getting the general idea. News, ignored. Charts, no one wants to talk about it, right? You ask the question, who's still here? If you're still here, you still have a chance. And I still think crypto is the best way to protect yourself against, it's either the best way to protect yourself or it's the best way to take advantage of a constructive catalyst that no one thinks is out there. Like this AI trade, even though it's like, oh my God, it talks now. Why is no one looking at that as something constructive? Okay, torches and pitchforks thinks Bitcoin's going to 65K. Okay. Spoken like someone who owns a bunch of ETH. No, dude, I have like a 15% allocation. It's about 1/3 of the amount of money I have in Bitcoin. Right. It's simple. It's easy. All right. So that's it for today. All right. We will see you tomorrow.